Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us for 12 News at 6. The U.S. Marshals Service says convicted sex offenders who disappear from the National Registry can pose a serious risk to public safety.
Now, after a weeks-long operation across Arizona, they've arrested dozens of fugitives accused of failing to register or committing new sex crimes.
12 News journalist Sean Rice is here with more on the operation, one the top marshal says goes beyond someone simply forgetting to fill out the paperwork. Sean?
Such an important operation, especially to the victims who do not have to be re-victimized because people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. The U.S. Marshals Service spent weeks tracking down these convicted sex offenders who they say were avoiding registration requirements, and in some cases, they found new evidence that sexual offenses were happening. This all comes 20 years ago since Congress gave the Marshals authority to arrest those who failed to register, and now the acting U.S. Marshal here in our state says the public safety benefits have never been greater.
We're going after people that aren't registering because we see them as potential risk to the vulnerable in our communities.
The U.S. Marshals Service wrapped up a targeted operation last week called Adam's Watch, arresting 12 people wanted for failing to register as sex offenders and another 15 fugitives wanted on sexual assault or other sex offense charges. The operation honors the legacy of Adam Walsh, whose 1981 abduction and murder helped lead to the Adam Walsh Act. That law gave the U.S. Marshals Service authority to investigate and pursue convicted sex offenders who fail to comply with registration requirements.
These folks were already found guilty. They were already convicted, whether that is by trial or by a plea agreement, and as part of the sentencing by a judge, they found that all these facts were in there, that they could be an at-risk individual for our community.
In one case, the Marshals arrested 65-year-old John Sperry in Prescott in connection with sex crimes allegation down in Tucson. Bayless says he was working as a licensed clinical social worker specializing in sex addiction treatment, making it a high-risk and high-priority arrest.
The scary part about it is that there's usually not just one victim. If it's somebody that has a history or they have one victim, we're always wondering, is there a second? Is there a third?
Failing to register as a sex offender may feel like a minor offense, but Van Bayless, acting U.S. Marshal for the District of Arizona, has heard powerful stories from victims, all living in fear of where their offender is located.
We've heard this from victims over the years, that when someone isn't where they're supposed to be, they have a constant fear. Are they coming after me again? Are they going to hurt me again? And so I do think that as a victim, it just opens the wound every time something is happening.
And the U.S. Marshals are very active here in Arizona. This is just one of many operations they are conducting every single week here in Arizona to find people accused of violating sex offender registry laws. If you know someone who is not doing that, not following their sex offender registry requirements, you can contact the Marshal Service at 1-877-926-8332. Mark.
All right, Sean, thanks.